by all kinds of people, about a metre tall, childlike in many respects. And I found it really interesting how similar those two images look. This is another one of these beings. As you notice, the dome of the head is slightly different. And this is by the gentleman who was in the Navy that drew this, told me that it was like a senior boss man. And he assured me he hadn't been on the run. Okay, reptilian being, very common, seen all over the world. And they do have a bad press, I have to tell you, most of the time. People are frightened of this being. And let's face it, if you saw him in the middle of the night, it isn't Tom Cruise, is it? So you may just wish to go away. But for some people, actually, this being, when they've met this being, have actually felt a great deal of love. So maybe we shouldn't go so much on looks, after all. This one was really interesting. This was initially presented as an owl, which is a very common screen memory for those with experiences. Seeing the owl outside the window, very interesting. But as this owl moved, she saw a chin, and as you can see, what looked ultimately like a grey zeta. This is a mantis being. Now, many people see the mantis being. It can be anything from 8 to 18 foot tall. Many see them as very ancient, very wise. And often you can see 2 or 3 different kinds of being on the craft. So it's not just there's one lot of craft for the zetas, another one for the mantis. They often work to get together as a cooperative, which is really interesting. I wish we could do a bit more of that. The lion being, very common. All over the world, people see the lion being. And the lion being is a really interesting one because it always seems to bring a golden energy. Many people feel it's very loving and feel very connected to it. And we've got some interesting things in our history and in our artifacts that actually, I think, connect to this particular being. This one is seen all over the world with a blue lycra suit with a kind of earphone at one side. And this one presented initially as a clown, but then when he revealed himself, this lady called it the gentle giant. Very loving being. The Nordics, these ones have black polar neck sweaters and obviously are very humanoid. And this lady, pixie-like face, is seen all over the world with the red hair and the deep green eyes, but notice there's no pupils. Very interesting. So, okay, these are just some of the many beings my clients have drawn, and you've seen many more if you get the very first video that I did. So if you're interested, that's the one to get. But this is the reason I've shown you this. Most of you will recognize the Wandjina, the Aboriginal sky being that came and taught them laws, as they said, which is this one. But this one, very similar, isn't it? But the difference is that this was drawn by an Australian white girl, and she saw it in a dream. And this, she said, was like an amethyst. Isn't it very similar? In the Kimberleys, recently, someone sent me these images, and I can't tell you where in the Kimberleys because it's still a secret. But what was interesting about this is these images were drawn by someone, or some people, but they're all so very different. And they're not like the Wandjina, really, although the first one may be a bit like the Wandjina, which is this one. But look how different some of the other images are. So what are they drawing? And why are they all in the same place, but quite different? Why I'm showing you these more than anything is there's so much about our history that we don't know about and what we're not educated about. And I'm asking you just to question a little bit some of the things that you've been taught about where we came from and who we are. And that our history is very incomplete, both anthropologically and archaeologically and historically. And I'm going to challenge it a little bit tonight. Here's some more images found in the same place. Once again, look how strange they are. What are they? And why are they being drawn? And who drew them? Or painted them, should I say. Now this is really important because I think that we could learn so much from our indigenous peoples. And the reason I'm showing you this one is this is the Dogon tribe. And the reason I'm telling you about the Dogon tribe is this. I gone a bit ahead. It's in West Africa, this particular tribe, and its oral history tells of visitations in ancient times of an amphibious star visitors from Sirius, who taught them that Sirius is a triple star system. Now this is a fact that was only verified by telescopes a few years ago. The visitors they call the Nommo told them about their human, biological, engineering origin. The Dogon religious history clearly states genetic engineering of humans with this alien species who came from the Sirius star system, their snake, lizard and fish-like beings. Now this Dogon tribe, as you can see, you know, they haven't got computers there. Astronomical knowledge, Jupiter's 4 moons, Saturn's rings, which were not known before the invention of the telescope, they knew about this. The star Sirius and a pair of invisible companions. One circles only every 50 years. Scientists call this Sirius B, but only sensitive instruments can detect it. They knew about it. Now how? How did they know about it? Well, they say, because they were told. And again, right across the world we have anomalies like this. This very interesting image here on, again, on a cave draw. It's a cave painting. This was taken 30 miles north of Moab in America. Fascinating images. And look at this one, and I love this one. Petroglyphs created thousands of years ago by ancient Indians in the American Southwest. And according to folklore, 2 objects collided high in the sky. One crash-landed in the region of Death Valley. Now, I don't know about you, but I find those actually really interesting. What are they doing on a cave? And what about this? 29,000 years ago. Look up here. What are these? Now, you could say maybe they're symbolic. And we get a lot of that as a really wonderful explanation, don't we? But, do you know, just maybe primitive people are drawing what they see. The reason I'm showing you this is it was in the West Australian only about, just over a year and a half ago. This was found again in our northwest. And look there, there's some really interesting script that they found, which they said was a bit like Egyptian hieroglyphics. Sorry, I can't say it tonight, I need more Coca-Cola. But what is it doing in our northern part of our state? What is it doing there? And why does it look like that? Some of you may be familiar with this gentleman, Zechariah Sitchkin, who's read some of the Earth Chronicles. Great, so I should say a good 40% of you. So I'm actually going to put a little bit into, get you thinking a little bit about some of the things we really need to look at in terms of our history, because this is going somewhere. Okay, Zechariah Sitchkin wrote The 12th Planet. He's an Israeli-born scholar, and he's researched the biblical description of the fashioning of Adam, which he says are condensed renderings of the Sumerian and Akkadian texts. These are the oldest form of writing we know of, and says that in his opinion, people called the Nephilim came to Earth 450,000 years ago from the planet Nibiru, a member of our own solar system, and believes Homo sapiens were a genetic upgrade of the existing hominids. Now we do know there's a missing link. We know Neanderthal and Cro-Magnon man, and then all of a sudden we've got Homo sapiens sapiens. Nobody can explain it. Really interesting. So let's look at what possibilities we can come up with. Alan Alford wrote The Gods of the New Millennium and agrees. He speaks of the Anunnaki based on the Sumerian text, believes Homo sapiens were their sudden, in evolutionary terms, change from Homo erectus of 184,000 years ago, during which we acquired, somehow, a 50% increase in brain size, language capability, and completely changed anatomy. That puts Darwin right up the gum tree, doesn't it? So, okay, so what have we got here? Now, it's a great site for you if you're interested in seeing some more of these pictures. And it's Matthew Hurley's site. Because the reason I love his work is whenever I get any of the media come to see me, I show you his stuff. Because we've got medieval paintings And not just medieval paintings like this one by Polish artist Art de Gelder,